Welcome to Powerless to Powerful. This is the great awakening of the masculine soul for men in recovery from addiction. This video is titled Beliefs, and our purpose is to awaken your masculine soul to new possibilities and help you unlock your unlimited God-given potential to be the best and most powerful version of yourself. Now, I can promise you this video is going to question your beliefs. In the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a statement that says, there is one principle that cannot fail to keep a man in everlasting ignorance. That principle, contempt prior to investigation. Don't let that be you. Just got a couple of disclaimers. Don't construe any of this as medical advice. It's not. Consult your doctor about that stuff. You'll see quickly, too, that this information, it's not for everyone. If what I say here offends you, you're free to turn it off. But remember, the most expensive thing that you can have is a closed mind. My prayer is that something in this video will give you the courage and the self-confidence to say, if they can go from powerless to powerful in their recovery and in their life because of their recovery, I can too. And not just say it, believe it. Now, the majority of men will never unlock the door to long-term recovery from addiction. And that's a problem. Why is that? I say it all the time. The average addict or alcoholic never elevates his recovery past the point of defining himself by his problems. They have a belief system that gives their past permission to hold their future hostage. And for some men, their belief system keeps them stuck in the deadly circle of addiction. And for others, their belief system has them stuck, believe it or not, in their recovery. Now imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you traded being powerless over your addiction for it being powerless over you. Now I'm not just talking about physical abstinence, although that is the most important thing. It is phase number one of the three distinct phases of recovery. In the essence of time, I'm going to cover those in another video. Just know that committing to sustained physical abstinence, and I'm not talking about brief, I'm not talking about intermittent, I'm not talking about every once in a while. I'm talking about sustained physical abstinence. It's a must. And you're never going to hear me say relapse is part of recovery. Maybe part of the story, but relapse is part of addiction and can have deadly consequences. It's actually worse than addiction because most men who relapse, they know what goes on in recovery. So don't try to tell me that's part of recovery. It's not. It's a worse part of addiction than addiction itself. Plenty of men die thinking they have another chance. Some do, some don't. Make a decision that the latter is not going to be you. Now, there are plenty of men who have been physically abstinent from addiction that are clean, sober, and absolutely miserable. Now, stay with me. I'm not here to judge anyone's time in recovery. I just know, having watched it for over 20 years, that men are settling for less than is possible. They settle for clean and sober, and their relationships suck. Their finances suck. So does their physical, mental, and spiritual health. Their life is a constant struggle. Maybe that's why you're here. They believe that addiction has chained them to a log they have to drag around with them for the rest of their lives. But it's not their fault. And if you've fallen into that trap, it may not be your fault either. So let me throw out a couple of definitions here before I go any further. Definition of the word secret: something not known or seen by yourself or others. Now, that doesn't mean it's not there. It just means that you're not aware of it yet. Definition of beliefs is an acceptance or state of mind that something is true. And then I'm going to add whether it is or not. You'll see what I mean in just a second. Foundation of everything we are is what we believe. And your collection of beliefs is the definition of the word mindset. Now, there were things I heard early in recovery that I really struggled to believe. I got tired of hearing, if you only got what you deserved, you have a disease, the problem is always you, don't have any expectations, all you must do is just don't use and go to a meeting, do everything your sponsor tells you. And in a minute, I'm going to tell you the thing I got most tired of hearing and share with you the one big secret that changed it all for me. So let me ask you real quick, if your beliefs are a label, would you wear them on a t-shirt? I am, I can't, it's hard, I did, I have, I settled for, they did, my background keeps me from, my skin color, my parents, my education, where I live. If you only knew what I was going through, you just don't understand. Well, I do understand. My name is Mark Mascola. This is a picture of me in 1999, the day I checked into a drug and alcohol rehab center. I was 35 years old and my life was a mess. Mentally, physically, and spiritually, I was bankrupt in every area of my life. I was failing as a husband. I was failing as a father. My business was crumbling. My health was failing. What had happened from a former college athlete to this? I was a failure, and I believed it. So why am I sharing this extremely personal information with you? Because this is me today. A beat addiction, divorce, bankruptcy, and most recently, I'm a cancer survivor. Now, this journey has led me to a place that I never saw coming. I never imagined I'd be an author or a speaker or a certified health coach or an expert in positive psychology. I never believed any of that stuff was going to be part of my journey. I never thought about leading groups and workshops and retreats or creating resources to help men go from powerless to powerful. I'm grateful, but I never dreamed of what God's purpose for me was going to be. How did I go from this to this? The answer is the one secret that I'm going to share with you in just a minute. But it hadn't always been easy for me, and I bet it hadn't been easy for you either. There was a time when it seemed like a dream, and actually it was a nightmare, clean and sober, and my life was crumbling. Next to no time, I found myself in the middle of a bankruptcy and a divorce. I was doing what a lot of men do. I got out of treatment, went back to work, started going to a lot of meetings. I had a sponsor. I called him on a regular basis. Really thought I was doing the deal, but I was missing something. At the meetings, they told me to call my sponsor. My sponsor just told me to go to another meeting. I worked the steps, I went to meetings, but my life just wasn't working doing that. I needed and wanted more than I was getting from him and them. So what was I missing? I was missing the one big secret that I promised to share with you. But before I do, let me tell you a quick story. I think we can all agree that the elephant is the most powerful land animal on earth. A single adult elephant can weigh as much as 13,000 pounds and can carry 18,000 pounds. I mean, that's like carrying over 100 grown men. I mean, think about that. Wild elephant is an animal that is feared by men because it can be extremely aggressive when it feels threatened. It has the power to destroy large trees, vehicles, you name it. It can destroy most anything it chooses to. Now, in order to train an elephant, the first thing the trainer must do is just teach it to not escape. They do this by simply chaining the elephant's leg to a log or a post at a very young age. The log keeps the elephant from going anywhere, and over time, the elephant becomes conditioned to the fact that it is a captive. Even as this animal grows large enough and powerful enough to carry the weight of more than 100 grown men, it remains captive because of one simple thing. Through its past experience, someone helped it create a belief. The elephant is held captive by its past in a conditioned response that is a limiting belief. The elephant is powerless, not because he really is. He is powerless because he believes he is. We all have a collection of beliefs in our addiction, and we all also have a collection of beliefs in our masculine journey and recovery. Earlier, I mentioned that most men in recovery have a belief system, a limiting belief system, that gives their past permission to hold their future hostage. So what's the biggest limiting belief that men in recovery have? It's the one secret I promised to share with you, and here it is. It was the one thing I got tired of hearing the most, and it's repeated over and over and over. You are powerless. Now let me tell you, it's not in my nature to be powerless, and it's not in yours either. There, I said it. The very thing most men in recovery want to say, but don't. Now I'm going to say it again. It's not in my nature to be powerless. It's not in yours either. Now, okay, I know this is where some of you are going to run for the exits, right? That's cool though. Like I said, this information is not for everyone. But if you're intrigued, stick around. It gets good from here. So here's why this is the one big secret. I was created in the image and likeness of who? That's right. I was created in the image and likeness of a powerful God. And guess what? You were too. That's why so many men struggle. What they believe about their life in recovery is not in harmony with their masculine journey. In another video I did titled Affirmation of the Three Selves, I talk about the relationship between self-worth, self-confidence, and self-image. I'll sum it up for you in 3 sentences. Self-worth, I am. Self-confidence, I can. And self-image, I become. Now, it's time for men to awaken their masculine souls and understand what they are powerless over, and equally as important, what they are not powerless over. This is why I said earlier, the average addict or alcoholic never elevates his recovery above defining himself by his problems. It's the message that he is conditioned to hearing, and it's the only one that he accepts as his truth. And there's nothing farther from it. The first step says powerless over my addiction. It doesn't say powerless over my life. So where does it begin? It begins with understanding that belief begins with a decision. The definition of the word decision is to cut off all other options. What does the word decision mean for you in your recovery? Have you made a decision to cut off all other options? Remember, your belief begins with your decision. And your beliefs will follow the path of your expectations. What do you expect out of yourself? So here's what I'm going to tell you. You better surround yourself with men who will help you raise your expectations of yourself higher than you're willing to. Self-confidence comes from being around men who will help you say, I can do this. So here's what happens. A decision becomes an action becomes a habit, and a habit becomes a lifestyle. And decisions, actions, habits, and lifestyle create your collection of beliefs, also known as your mindset. Again, we have a collection of beliefs in our addiction, and we also have a collection of beliefs in our masculine journey in recovery. Not knowing about or not applying this information drastically creates a elephant chain to the log belief system. Now, I settled for being powerless in my addiction. I wasn't going to settle for being powerless in my recovery, and you shouldn't either. Now, this is Carson. Somewhere on this page, you'll see a video titled, What They Are Saying. Carson says, this came along at the perfect time in my life. When I began to understand what Mark and Ashley meant when they said my beliefs would follow the path of my expectations, I started expecting much more out of myself. I'm a better husband, father, and businessman because of this. I am a more powerful me in all of the 8 key areas. Now, I'm going to tell you, I love kick-ass success stories, and Carson's one of them. He found his way to us after a near-death experience that really scared him. Carson wanted to be the spiritual leader of his family. He wanted to be a better husband, a better father, and a better businessman. And what's really cool is that the message you can hear from Carson himself is the same message you're going to hear from his family as well. This is Carson's wife, Millie. She's in that video too. She says this has made him, me, and us more powerful individually in our marriage and as parents. This information has changed our lives. We now focus on creating our ideal life and quit just reacting to all the negative stuff. It just really doesn't matter. So what is Carson's secret? He has developed a self-confidence about what he believes about his recovery and his life because of his recovery. He discovered his top 5 signature strengths. He honors the list of his core values. He celebrates what makes him unique and powerful. He lets go of who he is not and affirms who he is now and knows he is becoming the positive, powerful self in the image and likeness of his Creator. He has a principle-based foundation. He has put together an action plan to be the best and most powerful version of himself, personally and professionally. In these, the 8 key areas every modern man must master. He created a life where he traded being powerless over his addiction for it being powerless over him and his family. He'd be the first one to tell you, if he can do it, so can you. We don't just recover, we go from powerless to powerful. That's the end of the video. Have a great day. You absolutely deserve it. Bye for now.